everyone, Fluffy Cat here. Welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon. Before we begin, don't forget to comment, leave a like, hit the subscribe button with your tongue, cause why not? And let's jump into this episode. Get it? Jump, cause Rod has a little bunny. Yeah. Okay, let's really go. When we arrive at the Martian, Parfait and Delore are there to welcome us. The others, however, are nowhere in sight. Ah, it's been a while, Princess. Thank you for bringing her here safely, Prince Rod. Where is everyone? They are resting in their rooms now. It wasn't necessary that they be here for what Delora and I want to discuss with you. I will be staying in the tavern then. Rod is about to head for the tavern when Delora stops him. You don't have to leave. What we are going to say involves you too, since you are staying at the palace as well. Rod looks at her curiously, but asks no questions. Parfait and Delora gestures over to the settee, where we all take our seats. This is something Rod and I must know because we're in the palace? I have a bad feeling about this. Before we start, I would like to congratulate on your first good deed, Princess. Delora told me about it, and I can see the extra piece on your necklace as well. Parfait smiles at me, her eyes filled with pride. Her faith in me is rekindled with dwindling confidence I had. If only if only you'd seen how happy Delora was when she announced it to us. You don't have to go into specifics, Parfait. Oh, are you embarrassed, Delora? She smiles at Delora teasingly before turning to me. Anyway, I know you can do it, Princess. Only 2 more to go and you can break your curse. Yeah, keep up the good work, Princess. And you too, Rod. What about Rod? So, what is it that you wanted to discuss with us? I conducted a little investigation while I was with Catherine in the palace, and I found out something important. Something important? I discovered that there is a witch in the palace. A witch in the palace? I can feel a tinge of magic while I was there. It was faint, but definitely there. I don't remember feeling it before I was there as your doll, Princess. It seems that the witch is using a glamour to hide himself or herself from us. A glamour is a magic that only very experienced witches can cast, which means the witch we are dealing with is no ordinary witch. They have the potential to be very powerful. But what would a witch be doing in the first place? A witch could be after the king, but what? Parfait and Delora glance at each other, looking conflicted, but it is Parfait who faces me first, her expression grave. I'm afraid there is something other possibility we must make you aware of, Princess. And in order for us to explain it, we must give you the truth, which is. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. The truth? My answer is silent. I shift my gaze to Rod, but he avoids my eyes. What is going on? Princess, it is very likely that this witch in the palace is looking for you. What? I cast a glamour on you a long time ago so that you can remain hidden from magical eyes. I did it to protect you, but this witch in question can see through the spell I've cast on you. It is my belief that they are actively looking for you. I close my eyes and massage the temples of my head as I feel a headache coming on. Wait, you said before that the witches want to see their curses unbroken, but this sounds as if they have another motive altogether. What reason could they have for trailing me? The Tarambaram has been without a bearer for a long time, ever since the end of the war. A new bearer, however, will soon arise, and the crystal is ready to support them. Some of the witches, the wicked ones, want to make sure that the Tarambaram continues to spread darkness, even with the new bearer in change. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? Delora crosses her arms, her expression grim. The title of the bearer is passed down from one descendant to the next. Princess, the last Taram Baram bearer, was the late Queen of Agiala, your mother. Okay. I feel my blood go cold. That's not good. What? As you are the queen's daughter, you are the next heir. Come your 18th birthday, you will inherit the title of Taram Baram bearer. Mother? A witch? Impossible! Why would you spout such lies? I narrow my eyes at them, searching for some hint that they are lying to me. Delora and Parfait never turn their sad eyes away from me. Rod glances at me briefly before turning away, looking uncomfortable. Hidril, your mother and I used to work together to maintain balance, but then the witch hunt drove her mad and turned her heart to ice. But she never used any magic. I would have known if she was a witch. It is possible that you did in the past, but then it seems she erased all your memories of her true identity. Delora was already able to assert that most of your memories of her had been snatched away. So then, what have I been seeing? Hadriel needed you to remain obedient, so that when you finally did inherit her role as the bearer, you will continue to do as she wanted. My thoughts feel as if they are spinning endlessly on an axis. The real reason I cursed you was to see if you are truly capable of goodness, princess. Hadriel's influence clung to you even after her death, and we feared that you would continue her previous work. That Aguila might once again fall into darkness if you were not able to help the dark emotions in your heart. So then you cursed me because you were terrified of what I would do if I became the bearer as I was. My only answer is silence. Now I understand why the people hated me. It was because I am my mother's daughter. I cannot help but reach out to touch the pendant on my necklace as a feeling of dread washes over me. We know that there is goodness in you, princess. We only wanted you to realize it by breaking your curse. Parfait sighs, looking guilty. It was a selfless act on our part, I know. Selfish act. But we could not risk another great war. They believed that I would have plunged the world into a war. You never know. I turned to Rod, who has yet to speak since the conversation started. Did you know about all of this? Everyone knows the story of the Taram Baram witch and her daughter. Everyone except for me. I glanced down at my hands, suddenly feeling numb. I am a witch, and I will become the Taram Baram's next bearer. Just the thought of it makes me sick. I think back to my childhood. I can still recall the glares that everyone gave me when I was a child. They were scared of me because I was my mother's daughter. And what about the king? Did he never love me because I was the daughter of a witch? But if that's the case, if my mother was so wicked, then why did the king marry her in the first place? Hydra threatened to kill the woman that he loved if he did not marry her. She threatened to kill Ophelia. Ophelia? So the king has loved Ophelia from the very beginning. I clenched my hands into tight fists. After mother died, he was able to reunite with his true love, and since then he has treated Emma and Rod better than he has ever treated me. even though I am his daughter by blood. I want to feel angry about this revelation, but instead I feel a dreary emptiness inside of me. Catherine, a heavy feeling begins to settle in my chest, suffocating my heart. He never really loved me. Catherine? Rod's voice snapped me out of my thoughts, and that is when I realized that a stray trail has made it down my cheek. I quickly wiped it away from the back of my hand, angry at myself for showing weakness in front of them. You must be happy to see me like this. What? Your mother was made queen, and you and your sister became royals overnight. It is something out of a fairy tale, isn't it? You thought you had the perfect life until I came back into it. I never asked for this to happen. I just wanted to. Rod suddenly moves his hand to Zebby's mouth, muffling whatever other words the plush was going to say for him. What is it you want to say, Rod? It's nothing. I can assure you, however, that the power that comes with the crown has always been irrelevant to my family and I. So stop assuming that everyone around you is after your title or your riches. Did your time with my sister not teach you anything? I am only angry. I am about to angrily retort when I suddenly stop, my heart sinking. I have already recognized that Emma is more complex than I thought she was, and she has also told me that she never wanted to be a princess. My mother wouldn't have married the king if my father was still here. Delora looks between the two of us and sighs. And here I thought your relationship has improved. Now it seems like it's back to square one. I cross my arms and turn away, annoyed. Do you have anything else to add, Parfait? If not, I would like to return to the palace. Princess, stay vigilant and be careful about who you trust. Trust? How do you know whom I trust? What makes you even think I trust you? The anger that I was expecting earlier suddenly rises to the surface. For all I know, Parfait and Delora could be feeding me lies, playing with me the way Delora did when she first cursed me. I did not expect you to believe what we've told you. Perhaps it was not yet the right time to reveal everything to you. But please, you need to be careful. I stand up and look at them, my arms now hanging limply at my sides. How am I meant to trust anyone when all of you have been lying to me this entire time? Catherine, if you don't believe us, then try asking the king who Hedril truly is. Okay? I never even thought about asking the king about mother. Rod, you should watch your back too. It's possible that this witch in question could be plotting something against the royal family as well. They have been in the palace for a long time after all. She looks at me, then at Rod, her expression somber. I won't be able to stay with you anymore. I had to pick up and leave a few days ago because I was certain he'd caught a trace of my magic. He probably already has. I understand. Anyway, Catherine is right to return to the palace now. Someone may notice your absence if you're gone much longer. You two should leave now. Let us know if you notice anything unusual. I will. We'll see you again soon, Princess. Remember, stay vigilant. I can only try so much, man. I feel like this is the more one of the more emotional ones of talk that we've had with Catherine about her finding out that she's a witch and everything. I feel like this one has more emotion behind it. Okay, come on, be brave. Rod and I leave the Martian in silence. Here in the secret tunnels, we are suffocated under even more silence, but neither of us makes an effort to speak. I am still stuck inside my own mind, shifting through my troubled thoughts. I cannot reconcile the fact that the wicked witch who led the witches during the war was my mother. I did not even realize how many people despised my mother until after she had passed, and they spoke about how cruel a queen she was. I never understood why, since she has always been the perfect person in my eyes. I never connected my mother with the Tarum Barum mirror, but what Parfait and Delora just told me makes sense. Was I living a lie all those years? A lie that my mother crafted so that I remained cold and bitter even after she passed away? That's actually pretty good thinking, Catherine. And Delora and Parfait say I am meant to inherit the power of the Tarum Barum from my mother. I do not want that burden. I almost bumped into Rod's bag when he suddenly stopped walking. He turns around and looks at me with a serious expression. I cannot help but feel judged beneath the weight of that gaze. If you're going to tell me that you never wanted me as your partner because my mother was a witch, then I wasn't going to say that. What? Are you extending your hand? I won't lie. The first time I saw you, I thought you were like your mother. You were cold, harsh, and selfish. I never wanted to have anything to do with you. Was why I was so against this partnership, but you've changed. Oh, he's smiling. Are we friends? Are we friends now? Rod's expression softens. As you and Emma have grown closer, I have seen that you are not like your mother. She speaks fondly of you, and I can tell she really enjoys your company. That's why, even if I do not have plans to break my curse, I will still do what I can to help you break yours. It's the least I can do as your partner. I stare at Rod in shock. This is the first time he has ever been so nice to me, 'cause you're friends now. Friends. Why are you staring at me like that? I'm only doing this because you're important to my sister. Rod turns away, his face beat red. Liar. Thank you, Sebby. Rod reaches up to pinch Sebby's face. Ow! Thank him. Thank you. Rod turns away, his cheeks dusted pink. It is no big deal. I am only doing this because I see how dedicated you are to breaking your curse. Because I want to get my old life back. And now that they have told me about Mother, I want to prove that I am nothing like her. Anyway, I still want to help you with your curse, Rod. Why do you refuse to break it? Rod stares down at his feet, expression melancholy. Because I cannot. Rod stops and shakes his head. He says nothing else, and I do not probe him anymore, especially not after seeing that distant look on his face. We walk through the corridor and back to our rooms after we say our goodbyes. I wonder what Rod was going to say. I wonder too. Oh, another one! Mother, look! Eleonora got me this gift. Eleonora? She is my maid and my friend. Princesses do not make friends with their servants. But she was really nice. She even taught me how to braid my hair like. Those servants are only nice to you because you are the princess. They only pretend to be your friends, so that they can have power over you. But Eleanor would never. What reason do I have to lie to you? I. When have I ever lied to you, little one? You have never lied to me. That is correct. Tomorrow I will remedy the situation. I will hire a new maid. You are not to befriend this one, no matter what she says. But, Mother, are you arguing with me, Catherine? No, I'm sorry, Mother. Oh, so many emotions. Oh, don't cry. Today is the first time that I am leaving the palace on a day off. Usually I choose to stay inside, whereas the other servants always leave to go home. I never see any reason to leave since this has always been my home. And the Martian has never been home. Besides, it is not as if I want to return, not after that conversation we all shared last time. Thus, I have most of my days asking questions about Mother's reign, inquiring when and where I can. The options do not surprise me. I was so scared of her. One wrong move and she'd have you thrown in prison. The townsfolk would always wait for her to pass by before leaving their houses. She was a tyrant. The kingdom is a better place now that she is gone. There is no real reason for them to lie to me. The more I hear, the more my old life makes sense to me. I now know why the king never seemed to love Mother and why the people hated her, and the reason people look at me with such fear. However, it has been months since I have been at in public. If there is one good thing that this curse did for me, is it is that it allowed me to travel around town without being noticed. As Victoria's shop comes into view, my thoughts shift to the reason I have left the palace in the first place. If Rod will not tell me anything, I will have to ask Victoria. She must be related to in some way to his curse. Ooh, good thinking, Catherine. I pause outside the door to the toy shop. With a deep breath, I push the door open. Welcome! The moment she sees me, her expression becomes confused. Oh, you are the princess maid Catherine, wasn't it? I nod at her. You've never come in here alone before. What can I help you with? I wanted to ask you something. It is about Prince Rod. Prince Rod? Did something happen to him? Is he okay? He is fine. She sighs with relief. Then what is it you would like to ask? I just wanted to know if you knew anything about Prince Rod's sudden muteness. Victoria stares at me for a few moments before she shakes her head. I only know that it happened soon after I met my fiance, Simond. That name looks very familiar to me for some odd reason. What reason do you have for asking? Well, I tried to think of a possible explanation for this, and I immediately considered Emma. Victoria is Emma's best friend. Surely she would be willing to help if she knew I was doing this for Emma. Prince Rod has been very quiet recently. Princess Emma has been worried sick about him, but he refuses to say anything, even to her. And I have been trying to gather information that might be helpful in discerning the cause. I stare at her expectantly, hoping that my gaze holds nothing but determination. Finally, Victoria smiles. She's lucky to have a dedicated friend like you. I am still not accustomed to the fact that Emma considered me as a friend. Hang in there, girl. Before she became the princess, I was her first confidant. We were like sisters. But now that she's living in the castle, we no longer have the luxury of spending so much time together. I worry about her constantly. Even around me, Em always tends to keep her problems to herself at first. She doesn't like to bother other people with them. It is hard not to agree. With the way Emma was always smiling before, I never thought she had any problems in her life. It was only recently that I discovered that she was hiding all her loneliness and pain behind a smile. Hang in there, Catherine. It's a relief that she's befriended someone who cares so much about her. I don't know if I can be much help, but I'll tell you what I know if it will help Emma. To start with, I'm not exactly sure how everything changed, but it all happened so suddenly. All I know is that after the night I met Desimond, our relationship changed. Seriously though, that name looks very familiar. Where have I seen it before? Not in this game, but in something else. Ah! At first he still smiled, but recently he's been avoiding me. What happened between the two of you the night you met your fiancée? Nothing. Rod and I did not meet on that day. Prince Rod wasn't there? No, but soon after what happened that night, Rod grew distant. What happened? Oh, it was a stormy night, and I was heading back home. I took the route by the riverbank because it was the shortest route. It was foolish of me. The road was slippery and full of mud. I lost my footing and fell into the water. The waves were strong, and I was certain I was going to drown. I don't remember what happened in the darkness of the water, only that when I woke up, in my head was in Decimon's lap. That was the first time we met, but not the last. He carried me home, and he came by every day as I was recovering. And then he came to visit even after I had recovered. I tried not to get my hopes up too much, because what could this nobleman see in me, a mere commoner? But I still ended up falling in love with him. You have no idea how happy I was when he said he loved me too. It was a dream come true. Of course, every girl dreams of marrying a prince. It was in all of the fairy tales that I read as a child. None of this none of that was at all related to Rod. How does this relate to his curse? You said your relationship with Prince Rod changed after that night. What happened? Victoria sighs. I told Rod and M about Disamond soon after the incident. M was happy that the two of us had fallen in love, but Rod didn't say much of anything. That's when I noticed he started growing distant, and when I realized that he had also lost his voice. He still won't tell me anything, but I figured out that he was. Her voice faded, but I knew what she was referring to the curse. So Rod lost his voice shortly after Victoria met Dicidimund. The mermaid's curse must have something to do with the tale. The little mermaid traded her voice for legs so that she could be with her prince. But that night the only person who found their prince charming was Victoria. Rod's curse might have something to do with Dicidimund and Victoria. He became distant when he with her after finding out about Dicidimund. Why? Then there is the fact that he still spoke to Victoria even if he was distant. It was only when he found out that they were wedding that he became so cold. I frowned as I tried to organize my thoughts. How did it get to be this late? I'm sorry, Catherine, but I have to close the shop now. Sorry for the story. I know it has nothing to do with Rod, but it was after that incident that he began to act strangely. I don't think I was much help, but I shook my head. You have told me what you could. Victoria walked me to the door, opening it so that both of us can step out into the streets together. I really hope that you are able to help Emma and Rod. I hope so too. Did you see Ophelia the other day? I caught the sight of two noblewomen sitting on a bench together, not too far away from the toy shop. They are referring to Ophelia without her title. How disrespectful. Who would have thought a peasant like her could almost look like royalty? But her dress! As the queen, she ought to be wearing silk rather than satin. What? I do not know why, but I bristle at their comments. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but the fact that they are speaking so bluntly in public means that they have little worry of being overheard. I'm still not sure what the king saw in her. Well, you know what they say about ladies lacking natural beauty. Her talent must lie in other more persuasive areas. Oh no. She must be very persuasive indeed if the king saw it worthwhile to marry her. As the two women laugh, I feel something hot begin to burn in my stomach. Victoria takes in a deep breath beside me. Since I became a maid in the palace, there, Ophelia has been nothing but kind to me, a mere servant. She has all the right to flaunt her status and title, yet she remains humble. I now know that this is why everyone at the palace loves her. Common woman like her can only keep a man's attention for so long. I start walking towards them without thinking. Catherine, I wouldn't. You have no right to say those things about the queen. Ooh, Catherine. Oh, she's gonna fight. The two women are clearly surprised at my interruption. Both of them glare at me. And you have no right to eavesdrop on us. Eavesdropping? Anyone could have heard you. Their mouths fall open. One of the women looks at me for a long time, then sneers suddenly, as if something has occurred to her. I thought you looked familiar. You are the Crown Prince's personal maid. I see you always following her around when she's in town. This is none of your business, girl. Why do you care so much for our opinions? Ah, perhaps it is because the girl idolizes the queen, thinks she might also go from rags to riches. What? Oh, you do have a point. They stand and advance towards me. Do you want the prince for yourself, girl? If a commoner can become the queen, then it's not too difficult to imagine yourself as a princess, is it? How foolish. You're better off dreaming smaller dreams, girl. They laugh. The irritation in my chest blazes into full-on anger. Oh no. Is this what Ophelia has been dealing with for the past year? She is being treated so cruelly when she has done nothing but love the king. And I also ridiculed her just like this. I forced myself to look at the cruel woman as I moved my hand to the pendant around my neck. I was just as cruel as them. I barely feel Victoria's head as she rests it against my shoulder. Catherine, let's go. Her Majesty wouldn't want you to do this. But I cannot just let these two women talk about Ophelia like this. I pull away from Victoria and stand firm. The Queen has a good heart. She is far more noble than either of you could ever hope to be. Ooh! Catherine! I think back on the times I was cruel to her. Ophelia could have easily reprimanded me for my behavior. She had the right as my stepmother, yet she has been nothing but kind to me. Ophelia never got angry at me, even despite my treatment towards her and her family. She has always treated others with kindness, even when they are cruel to her. Judging from the bitterness in your accusations, it seems like you are jealous of her. How pathetic. Oh, Catherine, why? The other woman marches towards me, and a free man instantly moves to hold her hand just before her palm reaches my cheeks. Oh gosh. I will not tolerate any insults towards the queen. A soft light emits from the pendant, and I can only stare at it in shock. I got another good deed. I have many questions, but okay. By defending Ophelia? The woman snatches her hand away. How dare a peasant like you can talk that way to us? Have you no manners? I could ask you the same. What happened to yours? Oh, how dare you! Don't you know who we are, girl? I will see you pay for your impertinence. Our words have far more weight than yours will. I will go to the king myself and tell him how rude you were. I will pass on that message myself. I turn and see Rod walking towards us, his expression cold. The two noblewomen hastily curtsy. Your Highness! Okay, this is getting out of hand. The noblewoman turned pale as Rod's eyes fall on them. Actually, we have an important dinner engagement. Yes, we do. The two noblewomen curtsy before quickly departing. What were you doing here without your gods, you? What trouble have you gotten yourself into now? Tell him. Those women were insulting the queen. I thought a lecture was in order. Catherine, your brutal honesty, despite saying two deaths. is still by far the most amazing thing I have ever seen in the game by far. Oh, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. What? I narrow my eyes at him. Something like this can't be helped. Bad rumors are unavoidable. Rod looks away, his expression suddenly pained. This wouldn't have happened if I hadn't wished for. Rod never finished his sentence. He cleared his throat before looking at us again. What was he going to say? I think the nobleman that Victoria is gonna marry is a witch. And basically, Rod was there when, Victoria was, drowning, and he's like, okay, I wish to save this girl, but in exchange, I'll give you my voice. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. We shouldn't keep you from returning home, Victoria. I'll take Catherine back to the palace. Victoria's eyes narrow as she looks ready to say something, but Rod has already reached out for my hand and to pull me along beside him. Not even a goodbye. My eyes narrow as I recognize the path we are on. This is not the way back to the palace. No, it isn't. We're going to the Martian. Why? Because I was on my way there before I was forced to take a detour because someone was drawing attention to herself. What? Rod ignores me and we walk for the rest of the way to the Martian in silence. Waltz is the only person in the reception room when we enter. Prince Rod. Princess? It's a little late for the two of you to be here. I had meant to be here earlier. Is Lady Parfait here? Waltz nods. I'll go get her. Wait here. As soon as Waltz leaves us alone, Rod turns to me, his expression rigid. Rod steps closer and grabs my shoulders. It's not good. This is not good. He's gonna yell at me. Run, Catherine! I wasn't able to say so earlier because we were out in public, but you should know just how much danger you are in now, and yet you thought it was okay to go around on your own? It was my day off, so it is not unreasonable for me to want time for myself. Catherine remained strong. Time to yourself? Do you not understand the meaning of be careful? Why would you do something as foolish as going out into town alone? I cannot help but bristle at his tone. Why are you so angry? Because you're. Rod trails off and looks away. Because your family. Family status! We went to friendship to family. Yes! Yes! So, you are finally acknowledging me as family. Catherine just says, I love you, girl. I love her. I love her so much. I notice his cheeks turning pink. To be honest, you're less of a family member and more just important. What? Important? That sentence you just said made no sense. Because of all that you do for Emma, you're important to my sister. He looks uncomfortable as he says the words. I cannot help but marvel at his embarrassment. Why is he so embarrassed? But Rod changes the topic as he turns away from me. Why were you with Victoria? Oh. I can only think of one reason you'd speak to her. My curse. You thought you'd find out about my curse through her? I shrug. I can only assume that your curse has something to do with Victoria. She's not wrong. I look up when Rod says something, then stare at the curious sight before me. He has taken Sebby off his shoulder and is holding the doll in his hands, away from his face. The two seem to be engaged in some silent conversation. Then gently, Sebby speaks words I can hear. This is the right thing to do. You need to let her help you, Rod. Come on, Rod. Just tell me. I think I figured it out, but I need you to be my solid proof. Rod bites down on his lower lip before briefly closing his eyes. Eventually, he returns Sebby to his usual spot on his shoulders and turns to me. Fine. You're stubborn, and you're not going to quit investigating unless I tell you, are you? I don't know. You're right. Victoria is the reason I was cursed. Called it! Rod sits down on the settee and lets out a heavy sigh. His eyes are far away as he speaks to me. I was in love with Victoria, but I wasn't brave enough to tell her. I just followed her around like some kind of puppy, just like Rumple. One day Victoria hadn't come home and it was raining very heavily, so I went out to look for her. I found her walking around along the bank of the river. I called out to her to tell her to be careful, but I don't think she'd ever heard me. She slipped and Rod swallows. He clenches one of his hands into a fist. She fell into the river. Uh-huh. And I dived in after her. I somehow managed to get the both of us into the riverbank, but it didn't look like Victoria was breathing. I didn't know what to do. I started panicking. Oh yeah, they didn't know CPR back then. Never mind. I ran off to try to find help, but I couldn't find anyone in the storm. When I returned, she was gone. I rushed to her house, and the doctor was already there, tending to her along with Disamond. Rod gazes vacant as he nods. When Victoria began to fall in love with Disamond, I felt helpless. Did you not tell her that you were the one that saved her? Why would I? Victoria was so happy believing that she and Disamond were fated to be together. I couldn't do that to her. But surely if you told her. Rod interrupts me. I want the people I love to be happy. But what about you? I don't care if their happiness causes me pain. I'd rather bear that alone instead of bringing those down around me. Hate to break it to you, buddy, but that's also causing pain. My chest aches as I watch Rod's face. I would never have guessed that Rod would be so selfless. But that didn't stop me from thinking that I could still make her love me instead. I decided to become what I thought Victoria wanted most, the Prince Charming of the fairy tales she so adored. So I asked the witch to turn me into one. She stole my voice in exchange. Only then did I realize that she had inflicted this fairy tale curse upon me, the mermaid's curse. The next day the king turned up at our house, proclaiming that he had been looking for my mother for years and that he never stopped loving her. Oh. Ooh. This is not good. When the king married my mother, I became a prince. It was just as the witch promised. But it didn't matter. I didn't see it when I made the deal with the witch. I couldn't be blind to it forever. This man and Victoria really do love each other. They make each other happy. Nothing I can do will ever change that. So he's not a witch. Rod, Prince Rod? Oh! Parfait pauses in her tracks when she sees me. Have I interrupted something? No. Rod moves over to Parfait, but stops to glare back at me. I won't be long. Parfait looks at Rod and then at me, her face puzzled, but she does not say a word as Rod and her leave the room. Okay, so he wasn't a witch. So technically speaking, the king doesn't love her? It's just fake? This is bad. I did not get the chance to discuss Rod's curse with him later that night, nor did I get a chance to speak with Parfait or Delora about my suspicions of Sir Alcester.